Hey
Hey
guys.
guys, welcome back to On Our Terms.
Hosted by moi, Ismatou Bah. As usual, let's set some ground rules. This is not a safe space. It's a brave space, so let's be brave. And in honor of that, Mummy, we're not friends anymore. Featuring Cahleb Derry.
Hello. Yeah, we're not friends anymore.
I'm not gonna give y'all a bio because y'all know who he is. Y'all know this nigga. So we're gonna jump right into it. Obviously, we switched things up. We had to. It was time. I mean, it is your house, actually.
This is my house. I wonder if people know.
Do you guys know this is his house? Like, I feel like it's time for us to, like, people are always like, where's the set? Where do you can't rent this.
And this painting is done by Tiffany Freeman, who's amazing and so talented. And it's not photos. A lot of y'all think it's photos. Why would I get a bunch of photos of albums and put them on my wall? Obviously, I could, but it's painted.
It says a lot about you. I feel like a lot of people come in and see a lot of albums and they're like, this is a good man. This is a good person. I can't wait to talk about friendship because honestly, I love our friendship so much. Anybody that knows me knows Cahleb. Anybody that knows Cahleb knows me. It's just how it works. You don't see one without the other. But we go way back. Like, niggas don't even really know. It really has been a journey. Like,
from the first day we met.
Because I feel like it's such an important topic in our 20s. Because if there's so many changes that happen or has already happened and are going to happen. You
every day.
Are
so tired.
Exactly. And you're adjusting to new types of friendships. You're thinking about how you're gonna navigate new friendships while also maintaining old friendships. And then also you realize there are some friendships that are lying around just because they've been there for a long amount of time, but doesn't necessarily mean they're beneficial to you in any way. Yeah, and you have to like clean up. And I just feel like it's so hard, especially when you don't have like an example of proper friendships. Like, I don't feel like I've grown up seeing like the best examples of friendship. And
especially because I feel like our parents' generations, like, your friends are a placeholder until you get married and then you only hang out with your spouse.
No, literally.
And that's it.
And also for me too, it's also like, I feel like a little bit of like, I don't know. I feel like every time I speak to like older Black elders, it's like, there's like a level of paranoia, like, don't trust anybody. Don't trust anybody, as Sam will say, except for the dollar in your pocket.
And also that's how we would be like prepped before we would go to these barbecues and thing. I know for me, it was like, on the way in, we're talking about how we don't want to go. Don't tell anyone this. Don't tell anyone that about your life. I'm like, why are we here if you hate everyone?
Literally.
And I feel like it builds up over years and years of like, because people don't lean into change in their friendships, which I feel like we've really like actively done.
And very intentionally too.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of us have seen things that we haven't necessarily liked in future friendships and been like, hey, like, let's get ahead of this in a way. Or like, let's like, I don't want to make the same mistake because like, I actually value you and I want you in my life. And so let's actually make space for each other in this way. Or like.
And losing friendships, I feel like makes you realize the ones that you value, like, shit, like, I really don't want to lose this friendship. Like, especially that feeling of relief, maybe when you actually realize the relationship wasn't needed or wasn't valuable. I feel like it makes you deep even more, like, the people in your life and that you need them. And that, I feel like as we get old, like, it's hard because in some ways, I know there's people that are so envious of, like, people that have been friends for so long, like 10 years, 12 years, 13 years, 14 years, you know, of course. But at the same time, it presents its own kind of challenges because, like, we became friends when we were 12. We had no bills. We had no puberty. Like, nothing was, I mean, yeah, we actually had a lot going on, but nothing really was going on.
It was actually kind of hectic.
It was hectic. But, like, also the stakes were low, but they were high. But things change when we're like grown and we're adults, and we have to kind of teach each other how to like be friends to each other and teach each other how to show up for yourself. And like that takes a certain humility, I feel like.
Yeah. And also realizing like, oh, I'm no longer friends with this person out of like circumstance of like us going to the same school or us being at the red table together. I'm friends with this person and I go out of my way for this person because like this person means X, Y, and Z to me, or like brings this value to my life and I bring this value to their life. And so I just feel like friendships do reach a new level of like complicatedness, or like just it requires a level of intention that wasn't required before.
Yeah.
In college settings, think about it. Like, yes, I think it was starting to creep up because think about it. We were like, we would make plans and say, hey, we're going to go and visit each other at each other's schools. And
just like break, we were all in the same place at the same time, like in an organized way.
Exactly.
And then prep would have us going to XYZ thing.
Exactly.
At 9 a.m. in the middle of Manhattan in the winter.
Exactly.
While it's snowing.
So now that you don't have any of those things, it's like, oh, I actually need to carve out time to like go and see your new home. And like. And
also like there's growing pains in it. I feel like it's rarely pretty. Like a lot of my closest friends, I feel like we've all had moments where they're like, I don't feel like you're showing up for me enough. Or like, we just have to like reset almost as adults and like be intentional. Like we can't just take it for granted as we did when we were teenagers that we'll just like be friends.
I mean, think about it also like with life too. Like people are, people's parents are aging, things are happening. Like you need your friends in different capacities than you did before. It's not just hee hee ha ha anymore, unfortunately. It's like
as much as we try.
It's getting a little serious.
And we try. But it's real.
No, for real.
But we should take it back. Like, so how do we meet?
Yeah, no. I mean, the real ones know.
I'll tell my story.
I'll tell what actually happened, which was basically me and Cahleb were dance partners in prep. And I don't know.
For reference, we had recreation, we had like recess, but it was a heat wave. So it was inside and everybody was doing dance. I don't dance. I don't do that.
Also, they paired the shortest girl and the tallest boy together.
You were probably what, like 4 something at that point?
I was like probably like 4'7".
And I was definitely 5'10".
And it was just so ridiculous. And you were also like going through like your growing pains. Like you were still a little clumsy.
I got long limbs. I'm still clumsy, but I appreciate you saying it that way. I really do. But I still am.
So Cahleb steps on me. And I was like, I was going through a lot.
Nice.
I was not.
Honestly, I get it because I was ass.
I literally was like, why the fuck would you step on me? And I was just like staring at him and he was like, I'm so sorry. I was like, I don't give a fuck.
And looking back, like now I know probably how your day was going. Like we were not emotionally well. Like, but my favorite part is that like at that age you meet people like that and then you become friends, like best friends. Even older, like the amount of friends I meet and it was a little beefy. So I'm like, we should keep hanging out. And then you end up like, because you realize it's just two bad bitches sometimes.
It was too much energy. Like in that moment, us touching on the dance floor, it was just
the Aries fire. Like
it was too much. Yes, guys, we're both Aries. We're literally twins, guys. Like we're like the same. But also
we're like completely different, and that is the funniest part.
Like we're both chaotic. Same,
yes, but also very different in so many ways.
Very, very different. But it works like really, really well. People are always just like, oh my God, you guys are both Aries. You probably fight all the time. And I'm like, actually, no. We are very communicative. We went to Puerto Rico for our 22nd birthday. And it was probably one of the best trips I've ever taken. Me and Cahleb,
it was everything.
We just clicked.
And we just woke up and we were like, what should we do? And then we agreed. And then we like took 3 hours to get ready. Then we slowly walked. And we were like, oh, we should go sit.
We should go sit. We should go eat.
And we like take photos. It was just like lovely.
It was beautiful. We went to the beach. We laid out. No stress. No holler.
The girls couldn't believe it.
They could not believe it. They were like,
but
what?
I'm like, what did bring conflict in our friendship especially when we were younger? Like, I feel like it was low-key always other thing. Like, it was never actually between us. It was like other people.
I mean, to this day, it's always other people. I think but I feel like we've gotten really good. But even that, it wasn't always conflict. Like we would have conversations. I would talk about my grievances. You would talk about yours. And we've always had so much empathy towards each other. That's the
thing. I literally empathize with you. So like, I feel I feel what you feel. So it's really easy to like put myself in your shoes when you explain how you feel. And I know you're doing the same for me.
Yeah. And so I feel like when we're going through our thing or whatever it is, we always just have a long conversation. Like I remember one of our earlier fights, I don't even know if you remember this, but I was like, Cahleb, you're not texting me back fast enough. And you were like, I just can't. Like, it's just hard.
And honestly, that's just a lifelong struggle with me and my friends. But they know.
I literally was just like, and the thing is now people will be like, Cahleb doesn't text me back. And I'm like, yeah.
Like it's never personal.
Yeah, I was just like, me and Cahleb literally text each other back in like 3 to 5 day intervals. Like
I also like have to interject too because this is like a slight aside. But whenever people tell me that like it's ridiculous that I don't text back or I'm like, we actually were not
Get 'em.
built to communicate with people this often.
Get 'em.
And like quickly, like these brains in this body was built a very long time ago when it was designed by whoever, God, science, I don't know.
It's
like
it's actually unnatural.
Actually are not
the amount of stimulation. I actually had to stop wearing my Apple Watch because of this. Because I was like, it's actually not normal that my watch is buzzing. I also sometimes like even when my phone is not buzzing, I'll hear my phone buzzing.
Yeah.
And I'm like so accustomed to hearing it.
Also, it's the dopamine of it all.
Yeah, and I'm like, I need to go check my phone, but it's like, I need to chill the fuck out. But
I
that's
just long
besides
for the
point.
days of when people like, you saw people once a week, and then you went home, and then you stayed home all day, and no one could call you. So you just had to show up at each other's houses.
I missed the effort of contacting people.
And
Actually, I can't miss something I didn't know.
Yeah,
I didn't know
I did not
that.
experience that.
Well, actually,
a little bit.
I did a little bit. Because I remember calling my friends. Like I remember
the calls we used to be on. I'm looking at Sam. Me and Sam used to be on the phone hot. Hot, just chatting on my LG Rumor 2.
The Uvu days.
Crazy things happen.
Yeah, I had the LG MV3. That's my first phone.
It's a nice phone.
Period. That's how you know. That's like the hood rich.
I was about to say hood rich, but I didn't say it. But I'm glad you said it.
It was giving hood rich.
Period.
And I remember I used to flip that thing open and be like, yeah, I have to text my mom.
I can't lie, y'all. I'm the kind of person who is always playing games with my life. I do not check the weather app before I leave my apartment, and I will be packing the night before a trip. That's just the truth. But finding the right doctor should not be something you play games with. So I had to get serious about my alopecia areata. That's why I went straight to ZocDoc at the first sight of a bald spot, and I found my dermatologist. Guys, I was not playing any games. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, eye care to skincare, and much more. You can filter for doctors who take your insurance, who are located nearby, who are a good fit for any medical need you may have, and who are highly rated by verified patients. You can also see their actual appointment openings. Choose a time that works for you and click instantly to book a visit. Plus, ZocDoc appointments happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments, because that's what happened to me, y'all. Literally, I saw the bald spot and I ran to the doctor. I use ZocDoc and you should too. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/honorterms to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/honorterms. One more time, y'all. ZocDoc.com/honorterms. See you there.
But yeah, I feel like what we had to learn in the conflicts with other people was like how to show up for each other. Like I'm very avoidant, as you know. That's not actually true. I feel like it's not quite the proper word because
no, because if you have to like face something, you'll face it.
I think it's more that I hate conflict. That's more what it is. It makes me deeply anxious. Like conflict makes me anxious to cause conflict by like saying how I feel. Yeah. And I always admire about you that like if you have something to say and you feel it, you will be saying it. And I like admire that so much because it's really important.
And I feel like we've had to like kind of find a balance because I've also always admired how you're like, oh no, I see you, I pre you, I'm gonna move accordingly. Like not everything has to be said because I feel like when we were younger, I spoke too much. Like I said everything.
You did lay it all out on the table.
I laid everything out on the table. Everybody felt everything that I was feeling at all the time, anywhere, all the time.
But you know why I'm good at this? Because think about the woman who walked you off the edge once when you were gonna do revenge that was deserved, but would have maybe been catastrophic for you. My mother. Yeah. She's the queen of turn the other cheek. In some ways it's like I need to learn to be a little less like that in my life. But she's so good at it. Like
that was a pivotal moment in my life, I'm not gonna lie. She was like, you're gonna walk in there and you're gonna smile and you're gonna say, you look gorgeous.
And that's the thing about her, she's crazy. She's like, and then that bitch will think she's insane. Like she's been going around saying you're gonna do this. And then just make her feel crazy and gaslight her. Which I think is the psychological torture of it all. Is sometimes better than like if you don't think you'll get the validation from someone saying something.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a certain friendship that I had to like literally eliminate because I was like, oh, this person's not going to receive what I'm going to put out the way that I want, the way I need them to receive it. And because I didn't, and that comes from this, I've seen how they dealt with conflict in the past. Like, I've heard them like, oh, I'm this person that cuts bitches off. Like, you don't know me. I'm crazy. I'm this. I'm like, and I'm like registering all this stuff. And then it's like, okay, I know how you're going to act. I feel like some people out themselves and like show their cards. Like they show their ass. Like, oh, so I know how you're going to act when it's.
And also they show their cards. Like, that's the type of stuff that happens in your 20s out of nowhere. And like all of a sudden people just switch up. Like, I feel like we've all had crazy switch up experiences in the past, like few years, especially.
The last 5 years has been shocking. At this point, shocking to say the least.
If you could tell me anything was going to happen, I'd be like, yeah, I guess. Like nothing is unexpected at this point.
No, honestly, like
it's a fast-paced life.
It's a fast-paced life, and you honestly, I don't know. I think for me, it's made me realize some friendships are lessons. Some friendships are for life. Some friendships
are for a season.
Like it's. I'm no longer like attached. Like, I think I used to really mourn like, oh wow, like I used to imagine this person being like, I don't know, the aunt to my kids or like at my wedding, like within my life for like a long time. And I think I would like mourn that. And then I realized like I shouldn't necessarily see friendships like, I don't know, I shouldn't see people like that because like you just never know.
It's kind of like polyamory. Like you date for the experience of being in love and you're okay with the fact that can change and evolve. And like, that's not a failure, like inherently.
Yeah.
Which is very like queer, honestly. Which I feel like we have a very queer approach to friendship. Like me and all my friends, even the ones that are not queer. And that like, I don't know, that's where I get a lot of like intimacy and romance. I feel like I have such a romantic relationship with so many of my friends. Like, yeah. Which I just really love.
I would say the same too. I would say my tier A friends I have a very romantic relationship with. Yes. Like it's like
because there does have to be tiers.
I don't think like I feel like one thing I've definitely realized that different people are at different levels in my life. I have different levels of commitment to each person, and that's okay. Which I feel like when I was younger, I would write that off as being fake, but like actually no. Like I just
if anything, it's being real. Like.
Yeah, like, I just don't think I have the capacity for this person beyond this. And also, I don't think this person has the capacity for me above X, Y, Z. And
so just, like, let it be what it is.
And it's fine. Like, I'm okay with the fact that this is a friend that I go out with and I talk about these things with. And they bring me comfort in this way. And then I have my friends who kind of serve me in every way. Then I also have my friends who are, like, my professional friends. And, like, we do professional things together. You know what I mean?
It's just, like, different.
And they just serve different things for me. And
I feel like having rave friends has been really fun. Because I feel like people will, you know, in general, people will shit on like you only see people out, you know, in the club. Obviously, I have my friends that I see all over the place, on the couch, in the house, watching movies, out, whatever. But there is some people that I truly only see between the hours of midnight and 8 a.m. in the dark. And I think that's really important. Like, I love that.
I love that.
And
that's
we don't text, we don't talk, we don't plan to hang out, but we see each other, and then we spend 4 hours in the club hanging out.
And I love it. As if
we went there together.
No, literally, and I love it. We have a good time. It's a key, and it's great, and it doesn't need to be anything more than that. Like, I'm actually really cool with the fact that, oh, I see you in the club. Yeah. And that's fine. Or I see you when I'm hanging out with this person, and I love us in this dynamic. I don't need us one-on-one. I don't need you to come to my house. I don't need you to... And it's not like... It's not beef.
It's not beef.
But I don't know how to explain that to people, though. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to, like...
I feel like it's... If you're someone who's able to administer those boundaries in your life, then, like, you start understanding it. Otherwise, you're going to take that personally. Unless you can reference multiple people in your brain that you have no beef with, no harm against, but, like, you feel a similar way about, like, this is just, like, where the friendship is going to go, and, like, this is what it is, and that's okay. Yeah. But I feel like it's a level of like, emotional maturity. It also takes failing, I think, in friendships and, like, losing things that you wish you didn't, and like seeing things erode, and but also being grateful, and also wishing you noticed the signs earlier that something wasn't serving you. Like, just takes experience.
I mean, I feel like for me, it was around, like, I want to say college, I realized I was like, you know what, I definitely, well, towards the end of college, I want to say, like, because we were in the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I feel like I took the time to finally assess a lot of my relationships, my
Mm-hmm.
friendships. And I realized, like, my shortcomings, how I wanted to kind of show up in friendships better. And I don't know that, like, a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Like, I had to be, like, really honest with myself. Like,
I mean, a lot of people are like really shitty friends to each other. It's like kind of crazy.
I mean, men.
Yeah.
I mean, but also girls too. I hate to make it like this gender thing. Actually, niggas
Because everyone has their
niggas be
own
niggas.
version of it.
Like,
Yeah.
everybody's trash in their own way. Because there are girls that I thought who were friends with me, but they're actually not.
Also, I feel like moving. Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna put a pin in that and go back to it.
Monitoring spirit. Monitoring spirit.
There's a lot of them. Where's my camera? That one.
Monitoring
There's a lot of them.
spirit.
Boo.
Ew.
Boo.
Literally.
I also feel bad for people that like have to move to New York. That's really what I've noticed. Like they have to move to New York and find friends from scratch. Like that shit is hard. People are insane.
I was just saying this. I actually can't imagine not being from New York. I hate to make, this is a New York podcast, but like, I actually hate to be annoying, but
it's hard.
I don't know how the fuck you pick up your life and you move to this psychotic ass city. This city's insane.
And just meet people. Like,
and just,
that's crazy.
So I get it when people are eager as fuck at parties, but like, actually, I'm fine. Thank you.
I feel like another thing that like is
but also,
hard for
all
people
the
to
transplants we've met
understand.
are actually psychotic.
The thing is, I will hear people like will make friends, and then I hear the most insane stories of what they do. Like 3 weeks into being friends, I'm like, I'm so grateful to have people, but I feel like people don't always understand. Also, that like my life in New York is like, my family lives here. All of my friends from my whole life live here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like, I don't know. I didn't move to the big city all alone. Like I don't have time all the time. Like I have to see my mother. She lives here.
Yeah.
Like I just have different obligations and like have a life here in some ways. And I feel like one thing I've been trying to navigate is people who I love inviting me to something that I just don't want to go to. And it's no shade to you. I'm just really, my New Year's resolution is like, I'm so done doing things I don't want to do. Like, what's that,
saying no.
that headline that
you
says,
do struggle with saying no.
I do. The boundary setting, which is the same like issue as the it's just like navigating conflict in general. Yeah. But that headline from that woman that says, I don't want to be in a situation for even a moment where I'm not enjoying myself. That's how I feel. Like, how do I chase that in life? And that's been hard too, of like being like, we're friends, but we don't necessarily like doing the same things. And like, that's okay. I mean, and we need to find other ways maybe to hang out. Because being like from New York, like there's certain places, I'm like, I'm not going to that part of town. I'm not going to that place. Mm-hmm. I just know it won't serve me.
I think that's how I realize friend groups aren't for me though. Because it's like, you know, in like a group, obviously everybody wants to do everything together, mm-hmm. and then like group thing.
A big part of it too is just like being from here and having your life here. Like it's harder for me to romanticize New York. Like, mm-hmm. and that is some of the things I feel like that sometimes transplants are seeing New York through a different eye. Like I've been poor because this
is their
for
side
a long
mission.
Time.
Like, cause so a lot of them, I'm like a lot of the conversation I hear them say is like, you know, like my life. Like, this is my little side mission. This is I lived in New York in my 20s. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to go back to their lives and have families and stuff like that. Whereas, like, no, this is it, babes.
This is it. And, like, transplants can make it harder for us to live here. Yeah. And I guess, honestly, in some ways, we gentrify, too. Like, it's impossible to escape it.
It's a weird place to be. I mean, I don't know what it's like to come to New City and, like, not really know people. And, like, obviously, like, want to build community here, and mm-hmm. it's important to build community here. But I do think it's different when you're from New York and you have your whole life here and you have different circumstances and your whole community already exists here. So it's like, it's kind of hard sometimes to make space for those mm-hmm. new people, but I do understand where they're coming from. Of course. But like, I also find that people in those situations, especially like people who've entered our community, have also kind of felt totally a little bit feel it. Of like, I'm an outsider. But it's like, I don't think we try to make people feel like outsiders. I feel like also some of the people that I feel like I'm close with that have shared that feeling have always acknowledged that it's not like from anything anyone's doing. Like, it's just unavoidable. Like, around a bunch of people that have known each other for over a decade, like, there's constant references. And maybe we're explaining them all to them, but like, we're explaining all these things that they were not there for, you know, that have built our friendships. Yeah. It's kind of impossible, I think, to not feel like, a bit. I really do have empathy for people in that situation, because like I have
not really moved to like a new city before.
I've kind of felt it in other groups of people, so I can empathize. I actually can empathize in that regard just a little bit, because not just a little bit. Actually, I can empathize a lot, and I get it. But I guess I don't really know how to make it better for them, honestly. Like, because you know what I mean? Like, we are a community, and I guess it does require an extra amount of work to integrate yourself into a community. And I guess, are you willing to be uncomfortable for, I guess, do you have to be uncomfortable?
Well, I guess this makes me think, this is a slight pivot, I guess, but it makes me think about like, how do you actually go about making those types of decisions? So like, it's one thing to say like, people have tiers, or like, oh, this friendship doesn't serve me, but like, how does it actually go? Like, I feel like that's been the hardest learning of.
It's a gray area.
Like, how do you end a friendship and like, respect community? Like, it's not just in a vacuum between two people. Like, there's a lot of interconnected dynamics that like you're responsible for upholding as well. Like, unfortunately, we're all very trauma bonded, so we operate as family a lot. But like, that is kind of the vibe. Like,
especially relationships that go back to when you were like in middle school, because it does become like your brother or your sister. And so it's like, I remember when I was like telling my therapist about a relationship that fell out, she was like, oh, like I understand it now. Like he broke like a siblinghood. Like it's deeper than just a friendship. Like it's been like 10 years. Like I understand like why it's so like hurtful to you.
And like the ending of the friendship, I think, is one part of it, right? Like, that feeling is raw, is real. But really what it is the respect of how you go about it. Like, and that's all you're really owed. Like, it's gonna hurt, yes, but no one is owed to be your friend. Anyone can decide to cut you off any day. Yeah. It might seem insane, but they can. Like obviously it's their right. But like, people do owe the people that they've known for a long time, like, the respect of like a conversation and an explanation to whatever you have. And also, they also owe that to the community, even if it's fuck that person, in order to make sure that like this can still function. I just think it's very selfish and like just myopic to like move without thinking about how something will affect a lot of people. And I think it's something, I guess sometimes I guess people are just like, fuck it.
I recently saw this TikTok, and it was this girl, and she was like, oh, I can't fuck with those people who are like, well, he ain't do shit to me. Or I can't fuck with that person who's like don't got shit to do with me, so not my problem. Like, I'm gonna be cool with whatever, even though that person did you mad dirt. And I was like, I feel like we have this conversation ever so often when you're in community with people, because it's like, to a certain extent, like, blind loyalty is weird. Like, cutting someone off because of, like, it's weird. It's definitely, I'm not gonna sit here and say I agree with that shit. Definitely not. I think there is space, though, in a community to hold a friend accountable, hold a community member accountable for their behavior, and also provide comfort for their friend. And I feel like you, of all people, have had to navigate that, because unfortunately, Cahleb is the mediator.
I'm a Libra rising, the scale, the balance. So... And I am the calm one in my family. I'm the mediator.
It's giving youngest child.
Yeah. But we're talking about it in therapy. We're working through. But yeah, it's honestly deeply, deeply unfortunate. Never again. Never again leave me out of it. But in those situations, it has been huge learnings. And part of the learning is that like, there's not a lot you can do. Like there's a lot you can do, but then there's a certain point. You being the person that didn't do anything, just kind of pointing that part out, because I didn't do anything, which I have to tell myself when you're in the middle of things and you feel your friends feeling so much. I need to also protect myself in that way. Yeah. I feel like it's been a learning process, but it's also hard because I really feel what my friends feel.
Yeah. And I feel like we've had to find that balance a lot, like, especially within the last few years of our relationship. We've had to, I feel like there've been quite a substantial amount of friendship breakups around you.
Yes.
And
it's the truth.
And I think at first it was really hard. Just to give clarity, there's someone I don't fuck with anymore, but he's still in our lives. And I think for the longest, I always struggled with not understanding, but like, I think I struggled with maintaining our community because also like our community is very sacred, I would say. Like, I think it's like
to walk into a room and feel
understood.
good. As soon as there's a person in the room that you like, that discomfort, like,
Exactly.
is so like,
and I feel like also
and
like
it's changed it for me. Like, yeah, I have so much anxiety going into so many different things because of
the
dynamics,
situation.
which is just like shitty. Which is why I regret introducing anyone to anyone ever. Should have let them all just be themselves.
And
not actually. I've gained so much from introducing my friends to each other. I love all of it. But at a certain point also, like, you don't always need to, not everyone has to be friends.
Not everyone has to be friends. And I think also I've had to reckon with to be in community, because like I think before a lot of my strategy, especially when I was younger, it was like, oh, if I don't like someone, they're gonna know, and everyone's gonna know, and everyone's gonna be uncomfortable, and we're all gonna be uncomfortable, and everybody has to feel it because I'm mad and I'm upset, and everybody needs to know that. And then I grew up, and I had to put two and two together and be like, you know what? I do not like this person. I do not want to see them. I don't give a fuck about them. But they're a community with my friends, and I know that my friends love me and have...
Which is really what it's about.
Yeah, held them accountable for their behavior. They have stood up for me in our friendship, and they have not made themselves a safe space for any sort of slander that has to do with me. And that's what I need to hold on to.
Mm-hmm. And like, for me, it was also like, still navigating this, but like, just deeply disagreeing with how someone you had known for a long time and cherished views another person that you've known for a really like long time and cherished, and just making that very clear. Like, I think you're wrong. I disagree, and that letting that exist is very weird and very difficult. I also feel like I've been empathizing with you in different ways now that like I have a similar type of situation with someone who I'm in community with, and like, you know, when you hear, oh, we're all going to hang out and you're not there because they're there and you don't want to be there. Like, I actually am glad I asked you to make sure I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But that still is that little sting.
Yeah.
But you just have like, I feel like I've just been kind of swallowing it, but I just really, it's such a like, it makes you a little bitter, and the bitterness builds up a little bit, and there's little explosions, and like mine will come. Like, yeah. And like you think about it and it just stings a little bit. It's just weird. Like,
it's a weird feeling to navigate for sure. But then I think it's like, is it worth it though to be like blowing, you know what I mean? Because the thing is, at the end of the day, remember we had the whole conversation and I was like, I feel like I'm starting to resent you because you hang out with this person or you're around this person. And you were just like, I don't think it's me. It's like you can't, like, the person you actually resent is the person who actually did this.
Because like if I cut him off, he would still be around. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
and that wouldn't really solve the problem.
The community is that. It's the community. Like, that's, yeah.
And I think
that was a nowadays dance floor conversation.
Yeah.
I love a dance floor. Like, I like.
We be having a lot of. Me and Cahleb will be in the club. We'll be like dancing, and then we'll have the deepest conversation
like this.
And then we'll just be like, oh, crazy. But
I
love
really
you.
do like having those types of conversations in the club. I find it to be really nice because you can take breaks.
Yeah.
You
go
can
get
like
water.
go outside. It's really nice. And it's like, we're here together. There's a safety in that of like, we're at this party together. Obviously, we're friends. So we're talking about this because we want to solve it, not because...
People come up to us and they're like, and we're like, no, it's like we're talking. Like, come back later.
It's a little DMC, deep and meaningful conversation.
Literally. But like, I don't know. But the thing is, I will say that situation has taught me a lot, I think. I think it's honestly helped me mature in ways I will forever be thankful for. Like, you know, I think understanding that someone could be hurtful, and sometimes the only closure you will get is
from yourself.
And like me having to literally be like, you know what, like there's nothing wrong with, like, I've done nothing to this person, and I literally, this is out of my control, and I want to be in community with people. I want to be friends with people who see me and know me for who I am. If you're not that, good riddance. Good riddance, you know? And that for me was like, that sealed it for me. Like, why would I...
You can only learn that like in real time.
In real
Like,
time. I've never
you
experienced
can't
it
just
before.
like, it's a virtue you might say you have, but like it takes
Yeah.
feeling it. Yeah.
Like you can talk about it, you can ponder about it, you can journal about it, but you don't really know how it feels until you actually have it happen.
I think the other thing is kind of helped me learn a lot. And like being a mediator, I feel like I'm on Oprah. I'm like,
You're in the chair.
you know how gay people can't sit properly? Have you ever seen like this whole thing?
I saw it.
And I've been struggling this whole. I'm like, how do I? Like, this is my
That
chair.
chair is hard.
This is my chair. I've spent so much time in here, but like now I don't know how to sit in it. Yeah, the thing I've learned, I feel like, is despite how much I might want someone to see a person the way I see them, like they might not, and I actually need to let it go. And I feel like you've seen me. I spent so much time trying to convince people to like people. Why? Actually, I don't care. Like, actually, it's fine.
I think it's just because you love bringing people together. Like, you're the type of person who's like, I'm in New York. I remember in college, you'd be like, I'm in New York. Let's all link at this one place. And literally, like, 25 people would be there.
Which is, I love people. I love all my friends. But I am retiring from coordination.
You've been retired.
Like this year, I've really been like setting boundaries with that stuff. And I feel like I've been heard, which is really nice. Like, because it's so hard. Like the project manager inside of me, like I am.
You love organizing.
I do love organizing. I do think I do it the best. So like, I sometimes struggle to watch other people do it because I kind of just want to take over it. Yeah, exactly. But I also love when things just happen and I can show up, which is really nice.
Yeah.
But it's also hard because I know I'm constantly looking for what's the fun thing to do. So like that also is my role and I love it, but it's just a give and take. But yeah, mixing friends, like that's been something I feel like it's just been interesting to just experiment with. If people meet, they meet, but like it's actually just fine. Like let me just hang out with who I'm hanging out with and like do my thing. And it's weird for me for sure because I love to.
No, for sure. I feel like my friends only really come together on my birthday. I feel like that's where a lot of my friends meet for the first time.
You really be having friends crawl out of it. I'm like, who is that? I honestly love it. Like, you're like, this is my best friend. Like, we know each other for 10 years. Like, I love that for you.
You're like, I've never heard of this person. And like, yeah, because certain friends don't need to mix. And I think that's okay.
It's
like,
so okay.
I don't know. I think being in college and graduating, not having that friend group, I think to me was like, okay, I'm not the friend group girl. Like, it's never going to be me. It was never going to be me. I was never going to be chosen. It was never going to be me. And I had to just literally...
It was like cultivate my relationships. Like,
I just have to like cultivate different relationships. Like I have my friends who I went out with because we had the same taste in going out with. I have my friends who I travel with. We have the same, you know what I mean? I have my friends who I study with. I have my professional friends. I have my crackhead friends.
Period.
Can I say that?
Who I'm doing crack with.
My PR. No.
Yes, and I feel like the college friend group is a fucking sham.
You had a huge college friend group. I remember looking at your pictures and being like, oh my God. Remember I told you? I was like, I'm so sad.
And I don't know if I responded properly, maybe because I was drinking the Kool-Aid, but the problem is that they facilitated that by making us house the way we housed. We had to pick 8 and 8 and link. So we split by gender because that was easier than choosing who's closest, and you get to live close to each other. So we became a friend group of 17 people because there was a couple extras added in who like weren't there when we originally did it. That's not real. And I say that as someone who, out of the friend group, probably was closest with the most people, which this is a slight aside, but sometimes I'm like, am I crazy? Why do I get along with all these bitches who hate each other? Am I insane? Like, I'm thinking a lot about this, but we'll just put a pin in that.
I just think you really...
I'm just a mixy bitch.
No, I just think you... I was talking to somebody about this. I think you have a high tolerance.
Yeah, well,
I think you have
why.
I know why you have a high
exactly why.
You have a high tolerance for people in a way that a lot of people do not.
Yeah.
And like someone could say one thing to me and I'm like, I'm done.
I mean, in my first like full-time job, the reason why I had this chair, I had a boss that was just very complex and like very like meticulous and particular, and like it was very, very hard to learn like how to work well with him and please him. And my boss in between one time asked me, like, you're so patient, like, how? And that's when I realized, like, I have a musician father who's like 76. Like, I have to be patient. And, honestly, to my detriment, though. But I'm working on it. I'm finding a balance because it's a superpower, but it's also a weakness. Like, I think it's
so crazy because, like, there are traits you have. I'm like, I wish I had more patience. There are certain things, like, people could talk to me for, like, 2 seconds. I'm like, I can't. Bye.
But the thing is, like, I need that. The other day I was in a conversation with someone and I was actually having the worst time. And I was like, I can't believe I can't leave this right now. Like, I'm in my head. I'm not listening to them. I'm in my head, like, fully talking to myself, like, wow, you're a bitch. Like, why are you in this conversation that you hate? Like, and this is progress for me, is like, in the moment, like, having this. And I think it's releasing yourself from what people think of you. That's really what my problem is that, like, my New Year's resolution is to be the villain in people's story more. Like, it's actually okay. If
it's
being
okay.
the villain means that I expressed how I felt or drew a boundary, then let me be the fucking villain.
Can I tell you something? When I was young, when we were, because you know, like in high school, the most popular person was always this person who was characterized as nice.
Oh my God.
I used to want to be nice so bad, guys.
But it was always this blonde person
I'm so
with
serious.
money from Texas who's rich. Of course you're happy. Like, of course you're so nice.
No,
like,
but they would literally be like I remember, like, I was like, it was this girl, I'm forgetting her name, but was like, I think Schoolmon or whatever. And
what's Schoolmon?
It's like head
girl
sister,
or whatever.
head girl or whatever. And that's a crazy name. But I remember I was like, she has no personality. Like, why is she head mon? And they were like, oh my God, but she's so nice.
I mean, it's like Taylor Swift.
And I was like, what does
Why
that
mediocrity?
mean?
Like, they
Someone
love it.
being nice. And so I used to literally be like, I remember I had like year resolutions. I was like, I need to be nicer. I need to be a nicer person to like make friends and like to be like popular and liked. Like, I need to be nicer.
But the thing is, like, we would be nice if these niggas weren't calling us slurs and monkeys and attacking
But
us.
I actually don't want to be nice though. No, but like,
also,
I actually like, I think there's a difference between being nice and kind.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of people who are nice and actually don't stand for shit. And I actually don't want to be nice. Like,
yeah, like, I have to be off-putting to someone or I'm not doing it.
Like, I actually don't think you're like a real person. And it's like,
if everyone's just
it's
like
okay
neutral.
that some, like, there are certain people that probably met me and they're going to be like, Ismatou sucks. She's a bitch. Believe them. It's probably true. Like, I probably was a villain in their story. And there's certain people that are going to meet me and be like, I love her.
Mm-hmm.
She's amazing. She's a ride or die. That is I love her. Believe them.
I've been realizing, like, the gaggiest thing is that, like, I feel like I've really been releasing myself from, like, I'm like, you kind of need a little bit of tea about you. Obviously nothing that's like
don't
harmful
be
to
a
people.
sicko, but like,
But at the
I'm
end
not.
of the day, like, for example, a couple months ago, I'm at this, I'm so glad I remember this. I'm at this party, a guy that I've met once or twice and had a good time. Like, we hung out, we drove in the car, we listened to music. He's like a friend of a friend. He arrives at this party. Within an hour, two of my friends walk up to me and they're like, hey, by the way, like, that guy walked up to us and like immediately started saying like crazy shit about you, like that you're evil and that you're this and that you're that. I was like, this is insane, off of something. And then he explains why, and it wasn't true at all. And I feel like there's a version of me that would have thought, like, taking the high road, like, I'm just gonna not say anything. I like curse him out in front of the whole party. It's like, you're insane. And I didn't do it in a constructive way fully. He was talking about acclimating to New York, and I interrupted and said, as you acclimate to the city, you should really not talk shit about the person that knows everyone at this party, because it's not gonna work. He's like, and at the end of the day, like, he hates me probably, and maybe I am evil.
Maybe.
But like, I don't want to prove him wrong, actually. I want him to hate me. I want someone like that to not like me, because that means that I'm doing things right, because I don't like him. You know, like, that's something I'm very uncomfortable with. You know this. I'm a people pleaser. I'm also always friends with everyone. Like, it's been necessary to like be okay to just
like, I'm okay. I had to literally learn. I have very strong boundaries. And if you cross them, unfortunately, I might get triggered and I will tell you, leave me alone. And I'm very direct. I'm very blunt. And some people love it. They eat that shit the fuck up. Some people hate it. And you know what? I'm not for you. And I can understand if someone says to me, oh, I don't like Ismatou, X, Y, and Z. She's too direct. Yes. Oh, yes, you're going to hate me. Don't talk to me. I have to tell you how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I get that.
And that's like okay for,
That's fine for me. I think for the longest, I was constantly trying to like tame myself.
Of course.
And I had to just realize I will be for some and I will not be for others.
And let me just be me.
And let me just be me. And
well, also because
I'm going to attract the right amount of people.
Trained to like learn how to tap dance right for the right audience. Like that's literally all we were doing. Like, because in boarding school, we could not do this. We could not be ourselves. You could not do that. You had to match the energy. You had to like cushion and massage things. So it's hard to be like an authentic person fully. Like I feel like you ultimately had to like cater to certain things to survive. So it really is us learning now, like, yeah, just like, especially because at work you have to pretend to be a completely different person and pretend like you have no boundaries and have no opinions and like not a real person. And like, at least that's how I approached my last job. No one knew. I was like, yes, like I wasn't calling out racism. Maybe that's bad, but I had to move forward. Like,
you have to shut off a part of your
like,
brain.
this is not real. Like, but in my real life, that like at least like if work is gonna be like that, in my real life, I want authenticity.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not I wouldn't say at profession, like at work, I'm a real person. Like nothing anyone says to me at work matters to me. Except for me getting my check every 2 weeks. That's it. That's the only thing that really
smooth
matters.
brain at work. Baby.
Yeah, like I come, I do my work. Brain. If you call me a slur, thank you. I will move on with my day and I'll keep it moving. And I think that honestly comes from me being exhausted though.
And also, I was going to say we should totally add, because we sound like coons, we should totally add the context that we spent years and years and years being activists and trying to fight white people to believe in our humanity in some of the most violent spaces ever. Yeah. And it's sad. It is sad. Like, but unfortunately, we've tapped out. And I think that in some ways that is a protective measure.
I do want to clarify before anybody goes and says that I call myself a bitch and I'm a villain and I'm happy to be in that space. I want to stress the importance of just like conserving your energy and like also like understanding the difference between being nice and kind and like just, not standing for anything and just being this nice person, but not genuinely being like a kind person in your heart, not wanting the best for people. Like it's still
also like you can't just always be nice. Like I feel like I thought in life, if you're just nice to people, they'll be nice back. That's not true. Like you actually have to stand for something. People will walk all over you. Like you can't assume if you are meek and timid and hold back what you feel, that people will do the same for you and like give you the same grace. And I've fallen into that so many times.
I also realized I don't like being friends with people who are nice. Like if that's all you have going and like I can't add anything else about you except for your just
Do you remember in
nice.
Sex Education, the character who like didn't talk shit about people? And when anyone in her friend group did, she had to put a thing in the tip jar.
Yes.
Like she was weird.
Like
that she was, and the whole thing was that like she was actually judging everyone. But like there's a certain weird energy around it.
No, it is.
Because sometimes you have to stand for something. It's just like, also it's, again, that's why it's easier for these white people to be nice. Like, unfortunately, it just simply wasn't an option.
I mean, also it's like when you have a white picket fence and life is good and...
I truly would be really nice, probably.
And you're going to the south of France
The south of France during break, like, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be nice too.
And the other thing is that I also feel like I actually could have been that person at my high school, but it was never going to happen because I got villainized. Like, I always teetered between, kind of being like, I was like my class president. I was kind of, class, but also everyone hated me. And I won all those senior superlatives that were, bullying or whatever.
Yeah.
It was kind of iconic though. I won 7 of them.
I won the worst one. I was voted biggest complainer in high school.
Which is racist.
Because I complained about racism. Great job, guys.
I won talks most, says least, drama queen, thinks he's done most for high school, longest dinners, senior quad squatter. Those were cute. And did I say talks most, says least? Oh, and works least, gets most. That was my favorite one. That one is a slur. But all this is to say, I guess more on the topic of how you actually approach being authentic in relationships with people. Like, what happens on your birthday?
I mean, I bring everybody together. Get along.
Same. You know me. I'm throwing a banger. Everybody's coming. I can't do anything else.
I mean, I think Insecure demonstrated that really well. When Derek and Tiffany would host a gathering, they would just invite everybody and grown folk gonna be grown folk. Mm-hmm. Like, y'all gonna figure it the fuck out. And that's genuinely how I feel. I'm gonna invite all my friends, figure it the fuck out, make it work.
It's like Hunter and Sunset. They always all invite everyone.
Literally.
It's and like the most hectic.
Have your moment, do your scene, have your chats, but sing happy birthday to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go home and y'all could all tell me your versions of what happened.
Exactly.
And I will nod and move the fuck on with my life.
And we'll see you next year.
And I'll see you next year. Every year, the attendance list on my birthday is a little different.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like it because it's
good.
like,
things are changing.
Who made it?
Mm-hmm.
Who made it this year and who got cut?
It's true because things change.
From birthday to birthday, you can go from laughing with a nigga to nigga's dead.
R.I.P. R.I.P.
Is this the truth?
Oh, the other thing I wanted to say.
What?
Also being okay with being the villain. There's a song by Chrisette Michelle called Blame It On Me. And you know I like process my thoughts and feelings through songs.
Yeah.
And this is how I've like tried to make sense of this whole thing. The chorus is, blame it on me, say it's my fault. Say that I left you outside in the cold with a broken heart. As long as it's over. And it's like, she lists a bunch of different evil accusations. It's just like, you can actually say whatever you like, as long as you say goodbye, is like the end of it.
Yeah.
And like, that's a really hard thing to be comfortable with.
You know, I'm actually really happy you brought that up because I recently had a conversation with my therapist. It just made it clear to me that this person, well, my therapist was like, well, she's clearly trying to send you a message. And those are signs of like that's a toxic relationship and playing psychological mind games. And at first I was like, I'm not going to do shit. I'm not going to do anything. She's going to leave me, see me living my best life, blah, 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 blah. And my therapist was like, why? Why are you being petty? Like, why do you care? She unfollowed you. Like, she doesn't care. Why do you have something to prove after that? Why are you turning into this petty monster and plotting and doing all these things? And I was like, you're right. And she goes, when someone shows you signs of toxic behavior, what do we do? And I go, disengage. And she was like, why are you not disengaging? And I was
getting
like,
your money's worth, girl, period.
And I was like, I don't know. And she was like, block her. Why are you engaging? And I was like, you're right. And she goes, it's over. And I was like, it is over. Period.
And it is that transfer of that feeling. Because recently, a weird bitch blocked me. And it actually is like a sunset of something that I actually that 4 years ago, I should have stopped being in this relationship, but like didn't have strong enough boundaries. So it like crept back into my life and it didn't need to. Like the circumstances that brought it back did not actually need to bring it to where I did. That was on me and my choice. And I knew that we're not compatible.
Yeah.
But specifically, I knew that this person has always had a victim complex about me and that like has a narrative about me that like I am, I guess, this evil person in his story. And I had to actually realize that that's okay. Run with it, babes. I don't care. I hate you.
And
like,
it's just
like, just don't speak to me again.
I think
that's actually fine.
No.
I used to be so obsessed, I think, with convincing because I'm like, oh no, like my feelings in this. And as long as I know what happened, you need to release yourself from it. Or you will literally be with your cane, like talking about the friendship you lost when you were 23.
Literally.
Like,
no,
we can't
literally
be there. Like we must progress.
And I think
like,
that's also the thing with our mutual friend that I had to literally be like, oh, my best friend in the whole wide world knows who I am, vouches for who I am, stands by who I am. And this is someone I trust with my life. That's enough. And like, I know myself. I love myself. I value myself. I respect myself. And that's enough. And like, whatever this person is projecting, that actually has nothing to do with me. And like, just freeing like, I think the best thing my therapist has told me is disengage, disengage, disengage. You do not have space for toxic relationship. You do not have space for psychological warfare. You do not have space for mind games. You do not have space for that. You need to make space for greatness. You need to make space for things that you're doing. You are in this toxic cycle of constantly, and it has to do, I think, with my parents.
Family. Freud, baby. He spelled, I'm sorry.
And so for me, I had to realize I can't fall back into these toxic cycles. And like, I can't allow that to come into my friendships.
And you have to actively break it.
I have to actively break it, and I have to disengage, and I have to draw boundaries with people. And that's okay. And if anybody wants to have a conversation with me, we'll have a conversation and we'll move forward. But I know what a friend is to me and what qualities you need to have, what value you have to bring into my life. And that
perspective is so like, what do you feel? What do you need? What, like, where do you stand? Like, what did this person, how did they make you feel? Like, you have to really break it down.
Exactly.
I guess in that vein, like, what other like advice, I guess, or like, as we've just gotten older, I feel like into adulthood, I guess we talked about a lot of it, but like, I don't know, what are like the key things I feel like we've learned? Like, I feel like one thing is like, we talk about this all the time. Like, if I'm really locked in with a friend, like, it's okay for us not to text for several days. It doesn't matter. If we're busy, like, I don't like, that almost is the beauty of a locked in friendship. Like, that I don't need to feel insecure.
You have the security.
You have
the security. You don't have
I feel like you have to, as you get older, we're just too busy to like, and also shit be happening, like family shit. Like, we're doing a lot of things. We're taking care of our families. Like, the stakes are higher. So you just have to have more grace, I feel like. And especially if you don't live in the same place, like long distance friendships and stuff like that. And
another thing, like, you've also made me realize is like, you have to have grace for your friends. Like, you really do have to have grace for your friends. Like, people are going through things. You're in different stages, different financial situations, like, shit is happening, and you can't just operate from this like I perspective. I really don't believe in this fact that, like, I think a lot of people push this rhetoric of like
like put yourself first, and like definitely be self-preservative, but not to the point where like you're losing friends left and right because you're just like, well, they didn't check up on me, they don't care about me, so bye. Maybe something's really happening and we need to check in there, and like maybe they're depressed. Like, you just never know. And I think grace is super important. And I really heard this story, like a story about this recently, where like someone was going through something like really heavy and like didn't reach out to someone, and he like texted him and cut him off, and he's like, he had like a death in his family or something, did not even ask, like, and it's, I mean, and that comes from a place of hurt and like insecurity and like, let me ruin this before my like rejection is triggered again. But yeah, I feel like that, it's just a really important lesson, honestly. And I want to meet people like where they're at.
I think also another thing is choose yourself, be self-preservative, pick me, choose me, love me. Like,
it really is both ends. It's like have grace for your friends and also like put yourself first. Like, because nobody else actually will.
Nobody will, and like
actually no one else. Even the people that love you deeply, even your mother, like no one's actually going to do it because you're inside of yourself.
No, literally.
You know what's going on. Like,
value community, because I do think there is, especially for, I can't speak for everybody, but I know for like me, the environments that I have had to survive, community has been a lifeline for me.
Everything.
It has been everything. It has held me together. It has picked me up. It has put me back together after I fell apart. So it's like, it's super important. I think navigating things with grace, empathy, kindness towards your community members and your friends is always important. It's hard to honestly, do and easier said than done.
And that's the thing. It's like, do you want to? Because if you find yourself not having grace for someone, you might not like them very much. And maybe you should stop being friends. Like, I feel like that's a lesson I've started just noticing this more. Like, you can really tell when someone is not offering someone grace. Or when someone just doesn't fucking like, I'm like, you hate me. Like, every action I've done, you've kind of flipped to be the worst version of it. And that's just because from the positionality you're in, like, we are just not.
And people's actions speak louder than their words. Don't just hear them telling you that they like you. See how they move.
And when someone tells you,
see what they do.
When someone shows you who they are, you should believe them. And my mom used to always tell me that. And it's hard because you don't want to believe them. And sometimes people want to be your friend, but they hate you. That's another thing. Learning in adulthood. That's a real thing, though. And I feel like that's a whole other level of grace. It's like ridiculous. This is like a ridiculous level of grace. But it's true. Like, I think that not everyone wants. There's some people genuinely want to try to be friends with people. I think especially like within Black queer circles and queer circles, like, we're seeking community, so we want to be friends with each other. So we might try to be friends with another person, and maybe you don't like them, actually. And you might be both Black and both a lesbian and both whatever, but maybe you don't get along. That's a really weird feeling to navigate, but it's okay. And sometimes you have to throw in the towel. Like,
I feel like, I there have been a few friendships over the last few years that I feel like I definitely was forcing or it was being forced on me. And I had to just kind of be like, no, we are in different places.
Yeah.
And what you need out of a friend, I can't give to you. Vice versa. And we just have to be kind of like okay with that. And that's what I said. It goes back to the beginning of like, maybe this is a going out friend. I see you when we're out and that's cool. But like, girl, like you're not coming to my house and it's fine. It's not beef. I don't have a problem with you, but it's just not going to be there. It's not going to be like that. And I think the biggest thing out of this, I definitely want to make clear is that like, it's not one size fits all. And I think the biggest thing about friendship in your 20s is that it's the biggest gray area. I mean,
and like learning curve. Yeah.
There's definitely, you know, like if your homegirl goes and fucks your man, that's very clear. Don't, like, that's fucked.
Yeah.
But like, there are certain things where it's like people being weird, choosing different things, prioritizing different things, like, and
also at the end of the day, you can kind of get through anything. This is kind of also the point I guess I didn't quite finish before. But like you can on the other end of it, you can get through anything if you both want to be friends. Like if you both really do want to be friends, you can figure it out if you both lean in, because there comes the grace and there comes the respective community. And like I feel like that's also that's like the big one too, is like, yeah.
Because I feel like the internet makes like friendship and like this black and white thing of like, well, if they don't do this, you don't do that, and that doesn't happen, and then the friendship is over. But it's like, actually, you know that's not how it plays out. You know that's not how relationships play out. Things are complex.
Where's the nuance?
Exactly. You know that if you like someone or if you value someone, you're willing to do more to keep that. You know, you're willing to lean in and
and maybe that's like the lesson. Like your 20s is for when you realize what those relationships are, and really how they make you feel, because that's how you know what they are, what actually feels good, what's your friendship love language, like what things are making you feel good, and those are the things that you pour into. And I think it's a nasty like journey and messy journey, but beautiful too of figuring that out.
I will say that a lot of people,
and it's not over, girl.
A lot of people don't pour into friendships as much as they do their relationships. And I will always say this, I do genuinely think you got to date your friends. Like, I think the same way you would get your partner flowers, you should get your friends flowers because it makes them happy. You should, I don't know, like, I feel like you should definitely approach a friendship with the same level of kindness. Because friendship breakups, I would say, hurt more than relationship breakups. You know, it's so much deeper, because the way a friend is there for you and like the years of friendship, sometimes like most of the friends minimum that I have in my life have been in my life, I want to say like at least 5 years now. And you know, these last 5 years, especially in your 20s, your brain is growing so much. There's so much, you know what I mean? With people being a part of, like, imagine a nigga knowing you when you were 21 and still rocking with you when you're 26. Like, that nigga knows me. That nigga knows me. So,
date your friends. Have grace. Choose yourself, but also
don't be a dickhead.
Don't be a dickhead.
And that's all.
Unless you really want to be a dickhead, in which case, own it.
Own it.
But don't be a dickhead to your friends. Anyway.
But guys,
thank you so much for coming on my podcast.
It's not your show, bitch.
It's been so much fun.
If you like what you saw, make sure you follow us at Honor Terms Pod. And you can follow me, your host, at UOTomsy. And you can follow
me, your other host, C Mula with 2 U's and 3 A's.
And that's it. We'll see you guys next time. Mwah.